Everyone in Maruba town knew Evelyn as the woman by the railway tracks. Every morning before the sun rose fully, she dragged her wooden cart from the narrow alley where she lived and parked it near the old train stop. The paint on the cart had peeled long ago. One wheel made a crying sound whenever it moved, but the pot she placed on it was always clean, and the soup inside always smelled warm and comforting. Evelyn had once dreamed of more, but dreams had a way of living quietly. Her parents died within the same year when she was barely 20. The tailoring shop they owned was taken by distant relatives. The man who promised to marry her disappeared when life became hard. By the time she understood how cruel the world could be, she was already standing alone in it. So she cooked soup. Not because it made her rich, it didn't. Not because people respected her, they didn't. She cooked because feeding people made her feel like she still mattered. Some days she sold everything. Most days she didn't. The other vendors near the station avoided her. They said her place attracted bad luck. Children laughed at her worn slippers. Conductors shouted at her to move her cart. But Evelyn always replied softly, always smiled gently, as if kindness were the only language she still remembered. One afternoon, when the sky hung low and heavy, business was especially slow. Trains passed without stopping. Dust settled on her cart. Her pot was still half full. She sighed and wiped her hands on her apron. "That's life," she whispered. That was when she saw him. He stood near the tracks, swaying slightly, like someone unsure whether to move forward or fall. His shirt was torn at the shoulder. His shoes were mismatched. His face was thin, hollow, as if hunger had lived there for a long time. People noticed him too. They moved away. One woman clutched her bag tighter. A man muttered, "Drunk." Two boys laughed and threw pebbles. The stranger tried to speak, but no sound came out. His knees bent, and suddenly he collapsed onto the gravel just meters from Evelyn's cart. The crowd froze. Then, just as quickly, they turned away. No one wanted trouble, except Evelyn. She dropped her ladle and hurried to him, kneeling despite the dirt. His skin was hot. His lips were cracked. "Can you hear me?" she asked gently. His eyes fluttered open, unfocused. "Please," someone shouted from behind. "Don't touch him. These people bring problems." Evelyn didn't answer. She slid her arm under his shoulders. He was lighter than he should have been. "Easy, you are safe." With effort, she dragged him toward her cart and sat him on her old stool. She poured water and cleaned his face. The water turned brown instantly. Her heart tightened. She returned to the pot. Without thinking too long, she filled a bowl with soup, added bread, and placed it in his trembling hands. The man stared at it as if it were unreal. "I don't have money," he whispered hoarsely. Evelyn shook her head. "Eat first." He hesitated, then took a spoonful, then another. Soon he was eating like someone afraid the food might disappear. Tears slipped down his cheeks, mixing with the soup. "Thank you," he said quietly. Evelyn smiled, even though her stomach twisted. That bowl had been meant to earn her dinner that night. From that day, the man returned. His name, he said, was Jonah. He never explained where he came from, only that he had been traveling for a long time, looking for something he lost. Each day, he looked a little stronger. He helped Evelyn carry water. He cleaned bowls, he stood beside her cat and called out to passers-by, his voice shy but warm. But the town did not soften. If she feeds him, people whispered, she must be like him. Sales dropped. One evening, Evelyn counted her money and realized she was short on rent. I should stop helping you, Jonah said quietly. You suffer because of me. Evelyn looked up sharply. No, she said. I was struggling before you came. He studied her face. Why are you kind to me? You owe me nothing. Evelyn looked away. Because I know what it feels like, she replied, to be invisible. That night, Jonah made her a promise. One day, he said, I will repay you in a way you cannot imagine. She smiled gently. Just stay alive, she said. That's enough. Trouble came suddenly. The landlord's men arrived one afternoon, rough and impatient. Evelyn begged for time. Jonah tried to intervene and was pushed to the ground. Her cat was damaged, plates shattered. That night, Evelyn lost her room. She slept beside her cat under the open sky. Jonah didn't return. Her heart broke quietly. But before dawn, the ground trembled. Engines. 4 black vehicles rolled into Maruba town, silent and heavy. Guards stepped out. The market froze. Then Jonah emerged. Clean, tall, composed. A man who looked nothing like the stranger who once collapsed by the tracks. He walked straight to Evelyn, who sat beside her cat, stunned. Evelyn, he said softly. She could barely speak. The guards bowed. Whispers spread like fire. Jonah turned to the crowd. My name is Jonah Karim. I am heir to the Coastal Federation of Sahari. I disappeared when my family was overthrown. I survived because one woman fed me when I was nothing. He looked at Evelyn. I came back for you. Tears streamed down her face. She tried to step back. I don't belong in your world, she whispered. Jonah reached out his hand. You built my world again, he said. Now let me build yours. The town watched in silence as Evelyn took his hand. Years later, people would still tell the story, not of a prince who returned to power, but of a woman who sold soup by the railway and proved that kindness never feeds the wrong soul.